if I could talk to all the women out there, I'd say, let go of the idea that there's a glass ceiling. It's a made up thing. And the more you hold on to it, the more it will be true. And you are everything that you need to be. And you have it inside of you already. Go get it. Whatever that might be that you want, go. It's available.
Hey everyone, it's Tamara Thompson with Women Unlocking Wealth, and I'm here with my co-host Danielle Thompson.
Hey everybody.
And I'm super excited and grateful for our next guest, Tina Schaaf from the Schaaf Group, joining us today. We're actually here local, and off camera we were actually talking about how a lot of things were in alignment, which was really crazy, and I'm just super excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about, I know a little bit more about your backstory, but when we had a conversation off camera, I was like, wow, this woman is incredible. She's done incredible things and is up to some incredible things as well. What is going on at the Schaaf Group? And then talk a little bit more how you yourself are also evolving right now.
Well, at the Schaaf Group, currently we are evolving is the right word. We have been basically three things for 13 years, and that is executive search. That's placing people at the C-suite level. And so we've been doing that for all this time, and then also helping businesses grow. So businesses many times when they're going from 10 to 20 million or 20 million to 50 million, it's a very different climb. I liken it to, climbing a mountain, it's one thing to climb, we use Mount Rainier for,
I know that one too.
Okay. Excellent.
Born and raised in Washington.
Excellent. And then, so it's one thing to climb that and scale it, but it's another thing to climb Everest. And so you better have a Sherpa, you better have somebody who can get you there safely and take your picture. And so we've done that. And then the third thing is we've been an executive's agent for our clients, and that is very much coaching. It's just a different way of positioning it. And the reason for that is because it's very different, the process that we take a person through. So coaching is definitely one thing, but the process we go through is expanded, I guess is a good way to put it. So that's going to be our focus going forward.
How would you differentiate yourself? Because you're saying your process is unique than other people. How would you describe that, I guess?
It's unique because when we engage with our clients, we're actually engaging to not only learn who they are, but help them understand who they are. And so we use an assessment to start off the process. And then we walk them through a very strategic process, I guess is a good way to put it, so that they can first and foremost learn their I am, which is absolutely significant. Got, a couple of stories that I can share about that on not realizing really what I was getting into, thinking that this was all about career, and then finding out, wow, this is impacting people's lives and it's changing their lives, not just their career. And so we take them through an entire process, but it's not just getting them through a process and saying, go and good luck with that. We actually take them through a process that also then opens doors for them, which is pretty significant.
Well, and that's so important with things like we're in the same process with our clients, right? It's very much like, it's like a white glove experience. You have the touch points of like showing that you care and everything through that process. Because you can hire agencies, you can hire firms, and they're just going through, the everyday ebbs and flows. And they're like, oh, I'm going to connect with this person, take this call, or here's your onboarding. I'm going to pass you off to Susie over here. And then Susie's going to pass you off to Mike. And, and all of a sudden you're like, who am I supposed to talk to? And it's like, paying attention to the individual person that you're working with on that side. So I think it's really important to build that relationship and understand them as a whole and where they're going to help them through that process. So I love that you have that deeper connection.
Are you doing more like placement for corporations, or is it for small businesses or like small businesses? What does that look like?
Good question. Yeah. So our focus is really small to mid.
Nice.
And the reason for that is because we are very involved in the business and the business leadership. And so when you start getting into the larger corporations, they want you to talk to HR. And I literally work with the owners of the business or the chief executives because I'm placing chief executives. And so I just, back to relationship, I very much appreciate having a relationship. And if you are only talking to HR, you're not really getting the opportunity to develop that really strong relationship. And I have an intake process that is getting to know the business inside and out. And HR doesn't want you to do that. They want you to, just, here's the job description, go get it, right? That's not what we've ever done, nor would I ever do that. We really do a very strong intake and even a little bit of due diligence before we even start working with a company.
Could you give an example for people that don't know the difference between the small, mid-size, and corporation level? Like, is it a certain amount of employees or a certain amount of revenue? What does that look like?
Yeah, I would say that we're talking about between 30 to 100 million. And that's usually our sweet spot.
Perfect.
The number of employees can vary, in that range. And so I really don't, look at the number of employees as much as the dollar volume, the revenue.
Could you give an example of somebody that you work with and how you've helped them?
Absolutely. So in working with executives, in most cases, or a lot of cases, they may have a situation where the business is growing and they don't actually know what they need. And so being that I've done this for well over 2.5 decades, I have the benefit of, that exterior from the outside looking in and just asking the right questions. And an example that I love to share that is so much fun was a CEO of a company, and he actually owned the business as well. He wasn't just a CEO. And he said that he needed this like middle manager role. And so we're talking and I do an intake where I actually talk to the employees as well, the key leadership of the business. And so I was going through the process. I had, spoken to all the employees and I had heard what his goals and objectives were for the business. And I said to him, what you actually need is a right-hand person, COO, Chief Operating Officer. And he looked at me and he said, like, who do you think you are? Like, I don't know what I need for my business. and really did, kind of patronized me, I guess is a good way to put it. And fortunately, I have a lot of tenacity and I don't give up easily. And I knew that it was the right thing. And so I just said to him, I said, this is the right role. This is according to everything that you said that you wanted. Let's go do that. He hired me, and I really honestly believe he hired me just to prove me wrong. And instead, what happened is I actually found a COO for him. I literally just talked to him this week. He's been there for 8 years.
Wow.
And the company has grown significantly. And it did take 2 years, but at the 2-year mark when I was just going in and visiting and checking up and seeing how things were going, he literally took me into a conference room and he said, I just wanted to share with you that I really appreciate that you didn't just walk out the door and that you gave me the best person for my business. Thank you so much for staying in the ring.
I love that.
It is one of the funnest stories that I have because it was so tenacious. I mean, it was so, what's the better word for that?
That's a good one. You were just very persistent and you were going after what you felt was right for his company. And that's the thing
You're
is like
following your intuition.
Tamara, to think about this, like, so for our viewers with Women Unlocking Wealth, like, you have to have that tenacious attitude. Like you have to have the ability to speak up. And I, for so long, wasn't that person. Like I'm more passive. I learned it from Tamara to just be more confident and go after and speak my truth and speak up. And that's exactly what you did. And that's what like helps women become successful too.
Well, and it's good to hear these stories about women such as yourself. They're able to step in and help these people. If you're helping men or women, you are a woman stepping into her own and truth and building that on that side. So I think it's just super, super important to know that and be inspired by stories like yours. Could you share one also? So this was incredible that you shared this with this particular client. Do you have any other stories of how maybe you've helped like a woman CEO or founder that may have like what was the transformation that you helped with her side? Not just with maybe the employees and the revenue, but maybe there was something else that you saw like unlock with either her personality or confidence. I mean, a lot of people have the confidence, so maybe they don't have the structure or something. Do you have any other stories on the female front?
I do. I have several. The one that comes to mind is a CEO that built her own business, and she was incredibly competent, incredibly capable, created her own law firm, just a wonderful woman and businesswoman. And yet she was surrounded by male influences.
We actually work with couple of women that are in the same scenario who may have to make some introductions.
Yeah. and this being surrounded by just that male voice didn't really give her the confidence to know that she was really standing in her own two shoes firmly. And so in our conversations, what evolved and that was amazing is that just the validation of no, you have achieved this. You have arrived. Let me share with you. And just the awareness of how does she sit in the world? How does she compare to other CEOs in the world? And having somebody who has seen that for many decades and be able to share with her, no, you really have arrived. You really are, an incredible businesswoman, and you should stand firmly on what you believe to be true for your business, because what she would experience is a lot of people telling her, no, you need to take a left turn, or you need to take a right turn, or you need to, or you should, right? And
accepting that turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And she just didn't know. And she wasn't given permission to be who she is. And so in our conversations and in our work together, basically just helping her get firm in who she is as a person and then who she is as a businesswoman allowed her to then get a voice for herself and her business, and actually for her family, quite frankly, that she did not previously have.
I think that's one of the things that I've seen commonly, like not in my own personal space, like I'll just show up and do stuff and take action. I'm just going to do it. I'm like, nobody's giving me permission to do whatever, right? Yeah. But I've seen that as a common trait or a word that a lot of women I talk to use. They're like the word permission and also worthy, which is interesting to me. And I do believe it's just like in a confidence like side of it or the mindset shift of it. But it's very common for women to like almost not quite break through this glass ceiling that's not really there on that side. What would you tell women that are literally like, they feel like they have to have permission to go to this next ceiling that it's not really there on that side?
Thank you for asking. Seriously. If I could talk to all the women out there, I'd say, let go of the idea that there's a glass ceiling. Just let it go. It doesn't, yes, somebody told you at one point and maybe it feels like that there is one, but honestly, it's a made up thing. And the more you hold on to it, the more it will be true. Yeah. Because, honestly, what we believe to be true in our own minds, we actually can create, and therefore it can be our impediment.
It's like a blockage.
Yeah,
it's like this
absolutely.
barrier. And people are just like, there's nothing,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that has been, just kind of gosh, if I could just take them and just say, it doesn't exist. It's not real. And you are everything that you need to be. And you have it inside of you already. Go get it. Whatever that might be that you want, go. It's available. And it's not because you have a biology that says, female, that's a barrier to entry. It is not. I started in this industry of recruiting when it was a male-dominant industry. Like there were no women.
Tina comes in and blows them out of the water.
and I will share with you, they didn't like it. I was not well received at all. I learned how to smoke cigars and,
go on the golf course.
Yep. Did all of that. I learned how to do all of that because I was like, no, that's not going to be a detriment, because when they would, at the end of the day, when they would go and smoke their cigars and have their whiskey, I was like, oh, no, I'm going to be there, and hold my own. And I did. And, the fun of that story is that I outlasted all of them and ended up being the top executive search person on the West Coast. And so it was not easy, because I would walk through the door and they would look at me like, why are you here? Why are you still here? And I'd be like, and I'm still coming back.
I love that. Do you ever get resistance when you're working with the CEO and one of your strategies is to talk to the employees, but do you ever get resistance with them not wanting you to talk to the employees?
Yes. Absolutely. That's an excellent question. I get a lot of resistance on my process because it's so different. I find that CEOs or executives that think that they're hiring a recruiter, they expect that they're going to be able to say, this is what it is, go get it. And that is not what I've done or ever will do. And so I have to then walk them through an entire process of understanding this is how we engage and this is how I get my 98% success rate. And if you want that, which I imagine you probably do, this is the process that we need to go through. And yes, they have said, why do you need to talk to my employees? Why does that matter? And, I have to let them know that what their version of their company is may be very different in the eyes of an employee. Mm-hmm. And these are their leaders, their managers, leaders, senior, individuals in the company, and they have their opinion of the company. And to know the holistic entire element of the company is most important because to really just discern who would fit, right? Mm-hmm. But also, these are the people they're going to be interacting with. And so to know all of the personas versus just one persona is absolutely essential.
And that's where they're stepping into being a true leader, right?
Truly.
So you can be a CEO, but the biggest thing is being that true leader because you're training other leaders. Mm-hmm. You're empowering other leaders in all departments. And then they can work together on that side. And I think I've seen a lot of individuals where a leader or a CEO, they might say they're a leader, but you might see little signs where you're like, no, they're totally just stepping back in and controlling the whole situation and not empowering those individuals. Mm-hmm. Even within our own company, we see all of our, project floor managers as the leaders. They're empowering all the teams that they have underneath them, mm-hmm. So there's a project floor manager that manages basically the producers and all the creatives under 8 different accounts. So mm-hmm. there's 5 here, 8 here, 8 here. So here's a company system. But these people are all leaders. Mm-hmm. And then we have the leaders within all the creative departments, right? Mm-hmm. So you have your leader in the video department. Mm-hmm. You got your leader in the graphic design department.
Right.
So then not only are they skilled in what they do, but these individuals are really great at what they do, but they like to lead and they mm-hmm. like to train. And mm-hmm. finding those people with those skills is very important. But I've seen that in companies, though, where even mm-hmm. the high-level companies where you can just tell on a corporation front where something's missing with the leadership because of way the teams communicate with each other, even
with outside vendors.
With outside vendors. Mm-hmm. We even see this with
We see it all the time.
All the time.
We work with many companies.
We work with larger corporations, and I understand people that have, many employees on that side and front, but we've always taught our team that we want to communicate with care, mm-hmm. timeliness. Mm-hmm. The communication is a huge factor.
Absolutely.
But also being empathetic mm-hmm. and understanding things, because when somebody's having a bad day, if they're an employee or an owner or anything like that, you have to be able to communicate in a way that you don't offend, mm-hmm. But you also get down to the grit of whatever it is that's worrying them. Mm-hmm. Is it something that the staff did? Is it something that a contractor did? Is it something that they're having a bad day? You don't know on that side. But that's what I've seen in a lot of corporations, where if it stems from the leadership factor, that then the team is just not in unison at all.
Right. It all trickles down.
And I'm sure you're mm-hmm. the person that would come in and help with that.
So when you're looking at the culture of the company, mm-hmm. the culture of the employees, mm-hmm. If you notice something, are you going back to the CEO and giving them the whole report of the culture of what it looks like? Or how are you communicating with the CEO that's not necessarily offensive? It might be a positive thing, you report back positively. But what if it is a negative thing that you discover with the culture of the company?
Yeah. I always say I'm going to tell you what you need to know, not necessarily what you want to hear.
Ooh, she's a straight shooter.
Of course. That's why you get stuff done.
Right.
That's a little scary for some people, though.
It is. Yeah. And it can be scary for me, too, because, I don't know how they're going to respond.
Call me tomorrow?
Like the one that I told you. In that picture, in that scenario that I was sharing with you, it was almost like he was going to come up across the table at me because he was just like, who are you to tell me? Right? So I know that. And the good news is I know that I've survived that.
And years later, he's pulling you into the boardroom thank you, and gratitude.
So it gave me courage, mm-hmm. quite frankly, to go, okay, I'm going to continue to do that. So in that situation, I will tell them what they need to know. There are some things that it may not be something that will impact them or the organization significantly. Mm-hmm. And so I might hold it. am very conscientious about what I say and what I don't say.
Right.
I'm more gregarious, I would say, that I will tell them what they need to know because it gives them an opportunity to change that variable or to grow. Like I see everything as an opportunity. Like literally everything. It's just how you take it.
He took your advice over the time on that because I mean, have you worked with individuals that it's really a lot harder for them to take the advice and maybe they don't end on that pot?
Right.
And then it just kind of, because if they don't take that advice or take that action, then they're just going down the same tunnel.
Yes, I've actually had a situation where a client decided that they actually knew better than I, and
still at the same spot, or worse.
Literally, they're worse.
Oh,
my
goodness.
They literally are wringing their hands right now, wondering what they're going to do. And it's a situation where, they say that when a person's drowning, it's better to knock them out versus because they can drown you as well. That's the most common thing. And so it's a situation where it's like, I really wish that I could just get them to step aside for a minute so that we could get the organization moving forward, because most cases, there is such a great foundation. There's a wonderful foundation that can be built upon. To your point earlier, however, there's a leader in place that isn't the best leader. And, there is a leader for every step of the evolution of a business.
Have you ever had a point? So one of the gals that we had on our show, so she ended up exiting her company for $255 million, but it was only after she stepped out of her own way and hired and replaced herself as a CEO with a CEO that had the background on that side. So she had to step out and bring another CEO, and she was like, like she was very resistant.
I've done that more than once.
Wow.
Yeah. Replace the CEO. And that's a really hard one too, because in many cases, it's their baby. In many cases, they're the founder.
And I always wonder on that piece too, like how many people really shouldn't be the CEO of certain companies, because it is their baby, right? Like, hey, I'm happy to step out of this. Like,
wait, so what would the title be? Just founder?
Yeah, would be founder then at that point?
Many times they can go to be founder, or they can be a board member. That's the most common, is they move to being a board member, or they just move completely out. Depending on their age, there are some cases where, they're at an age where it's time. It's time to retire. It's time to move on to the next season of their life.
Makes sense.
And so that's what they can do. Or they can just be part of the board.
We've had actually several clients do that, where they've like stepped out, they're doing their next piece. They're like, I'm going to be a member of the board, or they're just stepping out completely. Team's taking over and they're starting other ventures at this point.
That's happened too, right?
So I think that's just really important because they're passionate about other things too. Like they want to create that impact. They want to maybe invest in other things. Maybe they want to speak on stages, whatever that looks like. So, well, and you're doing some other things too, like building your personal brand right now and stepping into other spaces. I believe you said you're going to be launching a book as well as you're stepping on other stages too. You're like, I'm still here. I'm still showing up, but in different ways.
Truly.
Tell us a little bit more about that, stepping into that space too, and what you're excited about.
Well, thank you again for asking for that. So it'll be a year ago this last May, just came to that point in life where it was like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
This is great. And I've been doing this for a long time and I love what I do and I love the impact that I get to have, but what's next? And at that same time, I have no idea. I mean, the universe is so amazing. But, along comes an advertisement for Tony Robbins. And so I was like, oh, I've heard of him. I think I should probably check into that. So actually went to a 3-day event, and through that made a definitive decision. You know what? I've been playing small for a long time, and I'm not going to play small anymore. And so it's been great to have this boutique, and it's afforded a lot of wonderful opportunities. But I realized inside of me is something that needs to be on a grander stage, and it needs to be in a place where it can touch more people. And, more people than my calendar can, allow right now. Yeah. And so, creating a way to do that.
The masses.
One of the things that, my husband said, I have to give him credit, is he's like, you need to finish your book. I started writing a book several years ago. And so I'm in the process of finishing that. And then what will coincide with that is workshops and courses and the opportunity to do masterminds and really get into that larger audience.
Well, and people will be honored, to work with you with your background on that side and just helping more women and men in general on that side. So I'm excited for when your book comes out, and we're here to help support on any of that stuff too.
Thank you.
So, but I'm super grateful that you were able to join us today. Could you share a little bit more with our audience, like how they can reach you and connect with you?
Absolutely. So currently you can reach me at www.theschaafgroup.com, and Schaaf is SCHAAF. Everybody puts the 2 F's in there. And then also on Instagram, TSG Schaaf, as well as LinkedIn. I've been using LinkedIn since its beta stages, so you can just, it's Tina Schaaf on LinkedIn.
And before we wrap up, does your book have a name? Or can we not?
I'm playing with that right now.
It's okay. It's okay.
TBD.
Well, we're excited. We'll be able to help promote and share that out with our audience as well, because I think it's extremely important what you do and what you've built as a business framework for people. But also just sharing your journey with our audience today has been super empowering on that side, because more women need to understand, like you said, they do not need permission. They are all worthy of doing things, and they can step into a space that matters and that they can create an impact, because they are not small. We all have the capacity to take on more in life and business.
Absolutely.
So, I appreciate you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And those of you that are watching, be sure to subscribe, leave us a comment and a review over on Apple and Spotify, and we'll see you in the next episode.